prepared. Let me see. Yeah, I admit that I'm not even prepared all the way, but I'm trying to get this video out of the way before I go see my doctor. Damn, these people got to sit down. We can't see the face off. But anyway, um, you can say it was a heated press conference. We're going to watch a little bit of highlights. This is actually the end of the Matchroom stream, and basically it was what we expected. David Higgins, the promoter of Joseph Parker, was talking some shit. Eddie Hearn tried to sun him. Then Anthony Joshua got triggered because David Higgins started talking about, the chin of Anthony Joshua, and he don't like that. Anyway, let's see if we can go back and rewind to the David Higgins part because it was funny. I admit it was funny. By the way, man, please subscribe.
Britain, that two reigning heavyweight world champions have met. I can now to say a few words. Firstly, from Duco. Talk about the words of the camp, David. It's been a pleasure working with you.
No, listen, pay attention. Please subscribe.
Got plenty to say and did a great job in building this fight as well. And truly believe your man will become the unified world champion on March 31st.
Yeah, hey, thank you everyone, and thank you to Eddie and Anthony Joshua for stepping up. People talk about unification, but some don't do it, and talk's cheap. AJ and Eddie have stepped up and made it happen, as have our teams. So I think that's great for the sport and great for the fans. Look, yes, there has been a bit of talk in the build-up, so I think it's important that I clarify a few things. I think, speaking personally first...
Hold on, my bad. Let me stop this. First of all, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the full press conference down below in the description box. I want you guys to know that we're going to be watching certain highlights. We're going to be doing a prediction, on the fight. And I want to put this little disclaimer out there. Listen, I don't care who wins or who loses. I'm not an Anthony Joshua fan. I'm not a Joseph Parker fan. I'm not a Deontay Wilder fan. Okay, I'm kind of a Tyson Fury fan. But either way, my job is to report the news and to give what I feel, is honest opinions. I hold no allegiances to anyone. However, I understand that I have been very, very critical of Anthony Joshua, mostly because I feel Joseph Parker is not getting enough respect. It's no disrespect to Anthony Joshua. It's just, okay, well, let's watch this. You're going to see David Higgins get under Anthony Joshua's skin a little bit. And then later on in the press conference, you're going to hear about how Anthony Joshua was like, listen, we can basically take it to the streets. Like he said he wanted to fight in a parking lot here in the U.S. it was called. Anyway, please subscribe.
The respect for Anthony Joshua, as does our team. I think from his beginnings to turn your life around and achieve what he has is a great role model. And I think that winning Olympic gold with having only walked into a gym at a later age is remarkable. So we respect that, and we respect the achievement of winning 20 straight fights and holding the two belts, and we respect even more that he's now stepping in with Joseph Parker unified. Having said all of that, in most countries in the world, it's customary in sport to analyse the strengths and the weaknesses of the opponent. It's not personal. It's and in most sports it's customary, be it tennis or Formula One. The media and the pundits analyse each other's strengths and weaknesses. And so something that shocked us is apparently in English boxing it's not customary to do that. So it came as a bit of a surprise when we started pointing out what we see as chinks in Anthony Joshua's armour. And there seemed to be a shock that we dare speak about these things. They weren't personal, it wasn't trash talk, statement of fact. Joshua has allegedly, and there's footage going around, been dropped a few times, and we made a point of that, and that killed two birds with one stone. One, people thought, who the hell is this Team Parker?
I know people are going to be pissed that I keep stopping it, but let's rewind it back a couple of seconds. Now, that's very smart what he's about to say. Now, pay attention of how he's saying that, the antics of the random press conferences shadowing the iPhone 2 camera with 3G technology, the trash talking in media, and he's going to say that basically, it was spreading awareness about Duco event, Joseph Parker and his promoter, and it has worked. So whether you like his methods or not, it's worked. It's helped sell the fight, and it's got a lot of Anthony Joshua supporters and fans like, okay, yeah, you got to knock him the fuck out now, Anthony Joshua, because his promoter been talking all this shit, and putting together these little video bits about how got knocked down by Lawrence O'Colly, got knocked down by Daniel Dubois, got knocked down by Dylan White, even though you beat him, in the pros, still. Let me just stop, and we're going to let this play through. Obviously, not the whole press conference. That's illegal. But we can do, bits and pieces, for educational and critiquing and all that. Please subscribe.
Parker. So educated the market that there's another world champion named
Hold
Joseph
up.
Parker. Pingin with Joseph Parker.
From Duco. Talk about the words of the camp, David. It's been a pleasure working with you so far in the build-up. I know you got plenty to say and did a great job in building this fight as well. And truly believe your man will become the unified world champion on March 31st.
Yeah, hey, thank you everyone, and thank you to Eddie and Anthony Joshua for stepping up. People talk about unification, but some don't do it, and talk's cheap. AJ and Eddie have stepped up and made it happen, as have our teams. So I think that's great for the sport and great for the fans. Look, yes, there has been a bit of talk in the build-up, so I think it's important that I clarify a few things. I think, speaking personally first, I actually have an immense amount of respect for Anthony Joshua, as does our team. I think from his beginnings to turn your life around and achieve what he has is a great role model. And I think that winning Olympic gold, with having only walked into a gym at a later age, is remarkable. So we respect that, and we respect the achievement of winning 20 straight fights and holding the two belts, and we respect even more that he's now stepping in with Joseph Parker unified. Having said all of that, in most countries in the world, it's customary in sport to analyse the strengths and the weaknesses of the opponent. It's not personal. And in most sports it's customary, be it tennis or Formula One. The media and the pundits analyse each other's strengths and weaknesses. And so something that shocked us is apparently in English boxing it's not customary to do that. So it came as a bit of a surprise when we started pointing out what we see as chinks in Anthony Joshua's armour. And there seemed to be a shock that we dare speak about these things. They weren't personal, it wasn't trash talk, statement of fact. Joshua has allegedly, and there's footage going around, been dropped a few times, and we...
No, Anthony Joshua is not going to take too kindly. Hold on, I'm eating a cough drop. Anthony Joshua is not going to take too kindly to these claims. Look at his face over here. Look at his face. I'm saying he's not trying to hear that shit.
We made a point of that, and that killed two birds with one stone. One, people thought, who the hell is this team Parker and Joseph Parker? So educated the market that there's another world champion named Joseph Parker, and made Joseph big a name here. It created a rivalry, so it built this fight up. And incidentally, Joseph has never been dropped. Started on the pads at age 3. And so it makes it very interesting.
Look at AJ.
The two styles, they come forward, these guys, and look for the knockout. So if they're trading, what do we know? We know that one guy's never been dropped and the other has. And so it's important that we do that. That's my job, because a lot of the English see it as a one-horse race. They write Joseph Parker off. The bookies write him off, right? But when you think about it, I think experienced boxing people will go, hang on a minute. Joseph probably a bit quicker on hand speed, definitely got a better chin, and I would add mentally tougher.
But you know what I learned when I was dropped in that Klitschko fight?
Hold on, before we go on. Now that is true. You do hear a lot of boxing media, saying, I don't understand what, the Brits are doing, just completely writing Joseph Parker off. Joseph Parker has a legitimate chance to beat Anthony Joshua, even though Anthony Joshua's resume is, better with the Klitschko name. But Joseph Parker has been rounds. In fact, you can see right here on the graphic I have here on the screen, Anthony Joshua 65 rounds to Joseph Parker's 123. So we know he can go the distance, and not slow down, compared to we've seen Anthony Joshua slow down in previous fights. And also many feel that Anthony Joshua has been putting on too much weight. His last fight against Carlos Takam was the biggest he's ever been, coming into the ring at 54 pounds or so. And we've learned throughout boxing history that muscle doesn't equal, greatness, That muscle doesn't equal skill. We've seen that boxers, that have been, that has the physique, don't usually, turn out to be that good later on in their careers, especially when they start going more rounds. Now, I understand, and I'm going to keep saying it, and I don't care how many UK people, unsubscribe and everything like that. Listen, I'm not here to suck Anthony Joshua dick. My job is to call it like I see it. And even though I feel that Anthony Joshua is overall better than Joseph Parker, I feel that it's still a 50-50 fight. Anthony Joshua is a better overall fighter, the better overall fighter than Joseph Parker. However, those stamina issues and the chin, come on, those things have to be addressed. But once again, I said in a previous video that Anthony Joshua has a lot of casual fans, and he can say anything. Him and Eddie Hearn know that they can say anything and they're going to be believed. Like he is a global icon at this point in time, even though he's not very well known here in the United States yet. But still on the global landscape, and which I try to explain to a lot of American boxing fans, it's like, yo, that's a big world of boxing outside of the United States. But like I said, I'm going to stick to my guns, man. Anthony Joshua does have his flaws. And I had one daft cunt come on my channel talking about, you always picking these fighters to beat AJ. No, I didn't pick Carlos Takam to beat him. I didn't pick Klitschko to beat him, believe it or not. I said, well, Klitschko's smart as shit. But Klitschko is up there in age, and Klitschko was coming off that long-ass layoff. However, I'm not discrediting the win. These are facts, just like David Higgins was saying. Let's go back about, what is it? Where we at? 31:53. Let's go back about 15 seconds before AJ gets triggered.
One, people thought, who the hell is this Team Parker and Joseph Parker? So educated the market that there's another world champion named Joseph Parker and made Joseph bigger name here. It created a rivalry, so it built this fight up. And incidentally, Joseph has never been dropped. Started on the pads at age 3. And so it makes it very interesting because the two styles, they come forward, these guys, and look for the knockout. So if they're trading, what do we know? We know that one guy's never been dropped and the other has. And so it's important that we do that. That's my job, because a lot of the English see it as a one-horse race. They write Joseph Parker off. The bookies write him off, right? But when you think about it, I think experienced boxing people will go, hang on a minute. Joseph probably a bit quicker on hand speed, definitely got a better chin, and I would add mentally tougher.
But you know what I learned when I was dropped in that Klitschko fight? Because a lot of people that have spoke about me getting dropped, and hand on my heart, I've used it as a PR stunt in the terms of what you're using it as well. Because when you talk about myself getting dropped on what you've done, it's a markability strategy. And when you want to talk about facts, the 3 times that I have been hurt or dropped was in the European Championships, when McCracken knows I was actually banned from the GB team because I was still getting in trouble. So I went back to Watford, I stopped boxing, and 2 weeks before that European Championship, I was called up to represent the country. I was very unfit, I didn't get dropped, I got stopped. When your tank is empty, it's hard to perform. The second time was with David Price. I'd come out of a police cell the day I went up to training.
So he confirmed that he was dropped by David Price. He confirmed this. Now, this was something that when the news first came out, people were like, man, David Price is a motherfucking liar. Everybody know that AJ can knock David Price out. I think anybody can knock David Price out. But, he's confirmed it.
I'm not going to use that as an excuse, but David Price is a puncher and lack of experience. And then with Klitschko, and all them times what it taught me, it will take more than a human to stop me from where I'm destined to be. And that's why I learned not to walk with sight, because when you're fatigued, you don't know where you are. I walk with faith in this journey. So in terms of using it as a PR stunt, the rumors that you have heard, they're fake news. Hand on my heart. So PR, whatever you want to use it for, is between you and your camp. But in terms of facts, I speak on those 3 times. And as I said, what I have learned in those times of adversity and going through storm is that it will take more than any human to stop me on this journey.
Well, thank you, AJ, for addressing it. I don't know if it's been addressed before. I appreciate that. So basically what I'm saying, this is a 50-50 fight. Why? Parker, again, I repeat, I think he's got a better chin, he's quicker, probably better footwork, and mentally tougher. So the fight's a lot closer than what people think. I'll leave it at that for now.
Thank you, David. Look forward to hearing more from you later. Kevin.
We're gonna stop it right there, and then the next piece we're gonna listen to is how Eddie Hearn gets upset at David Higgins. Is basically to paraphrase before we listen to it, he was like, yo, he was talking all that shit before, Now all of a sudden you sitting here, like not too far away from where all that shit you was talking on social media. But, not to sound redundant, but it is true that, Anthony Joshua has these rumors and have these knockdowns, and it's been multiple times, and a guy like Joseph Parker, who is still, whether you want to say, he ain't look good against Andy Ruiz, he didn't look good against Huey Fury, he didn't look as good against Carlos Takam, and Anthony Joshua stopped Carlos Takam. Still, these are two undefeated fighters. Now, Anthony Joshua, it's obvious, as we've learned, that he always has the right things to say. He's always Mr. Nice Guy. Sometimes I admit, it does rub me the wrong way, especially when you listen to his post-fight interviews. I said this. This is another thing that UK fans gave me shit for. They are very, very sensitive, by the way. Very sensitive when it comes to Anthony Joshua. I said, man, that should be sounding fake sometimes, He just always Mr. Nice Guy, always has the right things to say. But in reality, it sells, so I mean, even though I may not like it, it sells, and everybody doesn't have to be a shit talker. He's just naturally a nice guy, but sometimes I do admit it. I'm not the first person to say this. It doesn't come off as being genuine, but this is business, That's the way it's supposed to be. So let me see if we can find this part here where
for a number of years. Do you bet the fight, or do you really believe that this is what's going to help you and Joseph beat Anthony Joshua on March the 31st?
I'd say both. I think without the noise we made, we certainly wouldn't have the fight on fair terms, I think. And I think both parties compromised. I think the deal's fair to both, so we're not complaining. But I also think the things we've been saying are accurate. So we're not, trash talks using swear words and so on, but I think
you might as well say them while we're here.
Oh yeah, well, I think there's some mental weaknesses on display, because when Parker talked about the alleged incident being dropped, AJ said he felt he was being demonised, which I felt was a strong response for a factual analysis of, strengths and weaknesses. So I think he showed being rattled a touch, perhaps.
It's snowing
Then
again.
there is the questionable chin. We're not saying he has a glass jaw, but we're going to find out on March 31. And maybe I'm wrong, and that's the beauty of boxing. If Joseph...
But you can't say what you've been saying, and then when you're 5 feet away from him, you can't let your bum deceive you.
Eddie, what have I been saying? I just said...
You said he might. You said he might have some mental weaknesses. You said he has mental weaknesses. You said he is mentally weak.
He is mentally weaker than Joseph Parker.
You said he's mentally weak.
Okay.
You don't
Anthony Joshua is mentally weaker.
You don't do what he is doing and be mentally weak. You don't walk out in front of your home city and win gold at the Olympics. You don't walk out in front of 80,000, empty your tank, get up off the floor and stop Vladimir Klitschko if you're mentally weak. You also said he has a glass chin. We're going to break his glass chin. Don't tell me, tell him he's here.
Okay, so look, I'll give you a small concession. He's mentally tougher than most people, but he's mentally weaker than Joseph Parker. And in terms of chin, got a better chin than me he has, but not as good as Joseph Parker, so there's a concession.
The fact is, when it comes down to it, you don't really believe. Because I've heard you all saying, someone's getting knocked out in this fight. It's either me or him. That's not the same feeling on this side of the table. This is 100% same as what we do every time. Win, knockout. It's not we might get knocked out, we might get hurt. We don't. We win this fight. So you can't say one thing and then when you get here say another. I appreciate you trying to build the fight. But do you truly believe you're going to win? The Team Parker truly believe they're going to win the fight. Not someone might get knocked out. Do you
honestly,
truly believe?
I believe it's the destiny of Joseph Parker to win the fight and make history.
The answer's no. Go on, Adam.
Anthony.
Who won? Let's be petty. Let's be catty. Let's be some let's gossip. Who won that? I think Hearn won. I'm gonna be honest. It was Hearn. Hearn put Higgins in his place. People been saying that, David Higgins is mad and that he's off his rocker. But he's been selling the fight, and also we know that Joseph Parker is not very good on the microphone. We didn't need these two guys. We know that Anthony Joshua's not going to talk no shit. He's going to talk all that respectable shit and everything like that. Joseph Parker is going to be, he's going to say a few words, say shit like, well, the best man is going to win. I feel like I beat him. We've been, after him for years now, and so David Higgins got to be that. Is that the trash man? I miss Trash Day. I gotta put my trash out. They're gonna be coming around the corner soon. Anyway, somebody's got to be the one that's gonna, ignite some flames here. And as you can see, Anthony Joshua was triggered from it, man.
As Rob says, you don't enter trash talking, but have you been riled by what's been said from
Now, of course. Now, listen, for those who don't know, once again, I'm going to put the link to the whole press conference down below. We're just doing some educational critique in it and everything like that, so obviously we can't watch the whole thing. But, I'm just going over, like, the mannerisms of the fighters and, like, we're this is the first time that they're being face-to-face with each other and sitting. As you can see, they're sitting right there. And it's been like real heated build-up, even if it hasn't been Joseph Parker and Anthony Joshua himself. It's been these two, Eddie Hearn and David Higgins. So, of course, Anthony Joshua's going to say all this nice guy shit and everything like that, and going to talk about how, like, we as champions should hold ourselves above the sport and not do trash talking. Come on, man, get out of here with that shit. No disrespect.
David and the camp.
What's riled? Not really, but it is what it is. As I said, we're here to handle business. First is the verbal wars before the physical ones, and it's part of the game. What can I say about the verbal wars? As I said, I'm not really into it as such because, it's an opportunity for both camps. I would fight him in the car park for free. It don't matter to me. Do you know where I'm coming from? This is what a fighter's mindset is. So,
he's trying to take it to the streets. See, he is riled up. He trying to take it to the streets. He talking about fighting in the car park, in the parking lot. And he talking about he not riled up to my son. I'm ready to fight motherfucker for free.
That's what I want to do is fight. That's why I don't take my foot off the gas. In terms of training camp, it's not as if I've started, I've lived it, and I still live it. I came in heavy for the Takan fight when we had a change of opponents, the motivation and all that malarkey. But I'm motivated, as I said, I just wanted to secure the win that fight so I can plan for a massive 2018. The trash talking as such. And when I was talking about the likes of Federers and so on, it wasn't in terms of replicating who they are. I'm just saying in terms of other sports, when we're talking about tennis and golf, I was saying that these heavyweight championship belts should be held in high esteem. And I don't want to come here and demonize Parker and say everything he's done is rubbish. Anyone that's just walked into a gym can achieve what he's done, because what he's done is phenomenal. It's history. It's groundbreaking. And that's what I'm trying to say. As champions up here, we should be holding our achievements in high esteem and show respect as ambassadors of the sport. That's where I was coming from. I'm not trying to replicate what he's done, but I'm saying in terms of other sports replicating where boxing is, I think the trash talking should still hold a sense of respect to what we've achieved. And world champion to world champion, I look at it like this. In terms of mental strength, it's all good. I've defeated champions. I've faced Olympic champions. So what Parker will see and who you say he is, I feel that he'll be looking at the mirror, because across the ring will be someone just like him, another world champion, another undefeated champion who's mentally tough, with speed, that can take a punch. And if he does take a punch, there's two types of people who take a punch. One who gets put down and stays down, or would you hate to fight the one who gets put down and gets up and keeps on coming? And that's who he's dealing with, really. So he'll be facing someone who he sees every day in the gym, who his coach sees every day in the gym, to reflect in the other corner. So that's what I think will make it a great fight.
Joseph has said he's been watching you for some time, many years, preparing for this moment. Have you done the same thing? Has he been one big name on the horizon for you? Or we know of the Tyson Furies, the Deontay Wilders, but what about Joseph Parker? How highly do you rate him, and how much have you studied him?
He's done really well. Him and his team have done really, really well. And from the amateurs to now, massive respect. And in terms of like studying, I like to study, Meldrick Taylor's, Jersey Joe Walcott's, Ezra Charles, old school fighters, to the new school. I like Canelo now. So I study more of these guys to kind of replicate what I do. I'm more interested in how I'm developing. I'm coming from, and when I have an opponent to face, for that period of time, I'll worry about who they are, because what I learned from the amateurs, due to my lack of experience, is I used to watch everyone, study who I'm fighting, and what I always learned is it was completely different from watching a YouTube clip to being across the ring from them in a tiny ring in front of thousands of people, because when you're about to walk out, if I put a heart rate monitor on anyone, their heartbeat will probably be over 100 beats or whatever it is. So I'm just trying to say is that I haven't studied him diligently in the past. I study a lot of old school fighters more so, but I was studying him in training camp, and the reason why I haven't studied him in the past is because I think it's a completely different fight from watching someone on YouTube to when you're across the ring from them, going round for round, trying to secure the win. It's completely two different things. So in terms of strengths and weaknesses, the focus is to win, you know, and do whatever you can to win. And it's like,
Joseph Parker's thirsty.
be waiting for Joseph to throw a lazy jab the whole fight, but it could be something that he's brushed up on in this training camp. So in terms of his strengths and weaknesses, I don't know what they're going to work on this camp. This is going to be his best fight. So let me work on what I'm good at, what I'm weak at, and I'll bring something different. But at the end of the day, at heavyweight boxing, you know, this isn't a 3-round fight based on skills. This is a 12-round dogfight, and you got to have heart.
Kevin, obviously this...
We're going to leave it right there. Here's a question. Maybe you guys can help me, and I'm going to have to look it up. Has any fighter ever sold out? I mean, obviously, it's probably some like years and years, you know, decades ago. But has any fighter ever done 3+ stadiums with 70+ thousand? That's crazy. Also, over here in the United States, don't expect any news until probably like the month of the fight on what network we're going to be able to watch it on, because Eddie Hearn is aligning himself with HBO. And Steven Espinoza, the head of Showtime. Showtime has been broadcasting Anthony Joshua fights, except for the Klitschko fight, because there was a bidding war. So therefore, you know, okay, for example, there were people that were telling me, you know, Anthony Joshua has been signed at the Showtime. Hello, if he was signed at the Showtime, you know, then the HBO wouldn't be able to have a bidding war. So Eddie Hearn has been doing a very good job with that, in regards to, you know, hey, listen, you want this fight? How much money you got, HBO? You want this fight, Showtime? How much money you got? So Showtime has been doing their best, you know, to keep Anthony Joshua on Showtime and not go to HBO, because they would throw another kink in their plans if Anthony Joshua were to beat Joseph Parker and the Deontay Wilder fight. So this fight is taking place on March the 31st. Deontay Wilder versus Luis Ortiz is on March the 3rd. You know, and Showtime is going to try to do their best to make sure they secure this fight, because they want these guys to fight in the future. One thing I don't like that the trainer of Anthony Joshua said, I'm not going to play it. You know, I think I'll reach my quota for how much of this stuff I can play. One thing I didn't like is that he said, well, listen, you know, like, we didn't have to, you know, fight Joseph Parker. We could have went somewhere else. And I understand that, but it's like, yo, like, that's a unification, and I don't want to hear this shit when it comes to Deontay Wilder. Now, Deontay Wilder said that he would only fight if it was 50-50. That's bullshit. You know, it's going to be whatever Al Heyman says. And also, you know, even if Deontay Wilder does get 30%, you know, it's still going to be a career high payday. And I've said in previous videos that I think that Deontay Wilder should be happy with the same percentage that Joseph Parker is going to get, in my personal opinion, you know? The only issue is Deontay Wilder doesn't really have a mouthpiece. Well, Lou DiBella does know how to talk some shit. You know, but I really don't understand the UK fans' logic when they're like, AJ has options. He don't have to fight. He didn't have to fight Joseph Parker. He didn't have to fight Deontay Wilder. It's like, what the fuck? And then I have to tell myself, wait a minute, these are likely casual fans saying this that don't really understand or care about the significance of being an undisputed champion. Right now, one of these guys is going to have 3 belts. 3 of the 4 belts in the major sanctioning bodies. Just 10 years ago, this would have been considered, you know, undisputed. You know, this would have been before the WBO started really getting globally recognized. You know, 15 years ago, 17 years ago, if I'm correct, this would have been considered in you know, undisputed. Well, having 3 belts, I don't want to confuse myself. Having 3 belts would have been considered undisputed, even though the WBO didn't count back then. But the point I'm trying to make is, you know, it's in a way, it's good for Anthony Joshua, you know, and Eddie Hearn to make sure he's maximizing the profits and everything. But playing this political game and using the casual fans, you know, as far as miseducation, is like, yo, he don't really have to go that route. It's like, yo, bro, you know, if Deontay Wilder beats Luis Ortiz, and if Anthony Joshua beats Joseph Parker and he decides not, you know, to fight Deontay Wilder and go somewhere else, you know, fans going to be looking like, yo, what the fuck? Even if he does go a David Haye, people are going to still, you know, before the fight, you know, and it's going to sell, you know, and obviously David Haye has to beat Tony Bellew, you know, and the Tyson Fury angle, well, him with Frank Warren, that's going to create some issues. And also, Tyson Fury, who's supposed to be back in April or May, has got to get himself into fight shape. So, of course, Tyson Fury's first fight back, he's going to be fat, but not as fat. you know, and then he's going to have maybe 2, more fights before he's even in the talks of serious talks to possibly fight Anthony Joshua, if Anthony Joshua's still winning. But I just don't like how people just writing Joseph Parker off just because he didn't fight Klitschko, and that's really the underlining reason right there. Is like, well, he didn't fight Klitschko, he didn't stop Klitschko, so it's like you're writing him off because of that. Anthony Joshua needs to take Joseph Parker seriously. And boxing fans, especially UK, need to take Joseph Parker seriously. Because what's going to happen if Joseph Parker knocks out AJ or stops AJ? What are y'all going to say? Most of you going to shed tears. Adam Smith definitely going to shed some tears. Eddie Hearn's going to shed some tears in the arena, and he's going to shed more at night on his pillows, on probably his silk satin pillowcases or some shit. You got to think about this, This is a serious fight, and this is a big fight. And people saying that Joseph Parker is a bum. Hey, listen, and I understand there's going to be people that are going to be coming to me saying shit like, well, look, Joseph Parker got knocked out, and you were wrong, TstreeT. No, well, first of all, don't put words in my mouth. I'm not saying Joseph Parker's going to win. In fact, I'm dancing on the line. I don't know who's going to win because I consider it a 50-50 fight. So don't be coming to me, harassing me, and I already know most of you motherfuckers are because you're no good scum weasels. You're not going to come to me and say, you said Joseph Parker had a chance, and look, he got sparked out. Okay, hey, listen, shit happens. All right? I'm TstreeT Controversy. This is TstreeT Controversy Live. I cover every single major fight live. Please subscribe. All the links to my social media are right down below in the description box.